And welcome back, and it's the Corbett 5-a-day further maths, and let's have a look at the first question. Okay, so what do we have? So circle has equation, gives me a circle. Now, as you often see me do, I'm going to write down the centre. So the centre is 9 minus 2. I presume I'm going to need that at some stage. And I'm going to write down the radius is 5. Write down. Okay, so write down is maths code for you shouldn't have to do a lot of maths. Doesn't mean you won't do any maths, but you shouldn't have to do a lot of maths. So write down the coordinates of 5 points on the circle. Okay. Okay. Radius 5. So radius 5 means that if you think about Pythagoras, that means if I go across 3 and up 4, so if I move from my centre 3 to the left and 4 to the up or down, then my long length, my hypotenuse is 5. In other words, that's my radius, so I must be on the circle. So actually, all I need to do, and I say all I need to do, this is not an easy question actually, is I need to basically add combinations of 3 and 4. So minus 3 and 4, I'm going to do minus 3 and minus 4, and I'm going to do minus 3 and, hold on, I've done minus 4 already. So I'm going to do 3 and minus 4. And then I need one more. So let's work these out first. So 9, I'm looking at this one here. So 9 plus 3 is 12. And minus 2 plus 4 is 2. That's my first one. I've got 9 minus 3, looking at this one. So 9 minus 3 is 6. And minus 2 plus 4 is 2 again. So basically it's going to be a combination of these numbers, isn't it? 9 minus 3 is 6 again. And minus 2 minus 4 is minus 6. And 9 plus 3 is 12. And minus 2 minus 4 is going to give me minus 6. And then I just need one more point. So actually I can just switch these two around, can't I? So I've got a lot more combinations if I then switch 4 and 3. So let's choose positive 4 and 3. And so that's going to give me, well, 9 plus 4 is going to give me 12, 13. And minus 2 plus 3 is going to give me 1. And that is question done. And next question. Okay, so what do we have? So y equals 3. Okay, bit of an easier question after the last one. I'm going to rearrange this first, so that's 3x to the minus 2, because at this stage I don't know how to differentiate if it's written in a format like this, but I can differentiate if it's just a straight index power. So therefore I've now got it as x to the power of something, so I'm going to bring down the power, which is minus 6, take away 1 from the power, it's minus 3, so it's minus 6x to the minus 3, which of course you could write as minus 6 over x cubed. Both are acceptable. Next question. Okay, so what do we have here? So we've got a vector a to b to c, and it says a to b is 5 parts. Okay, so I'm going to write this on here. So a to b is 5 parts and b to c is 3 parts. Right, which means overall there are 8 parts. Now the way I'm going to approach this, and it's not going to be a very nice way with numbers, but it will work as long as we're careful. So the vector to get from a to b is to go across 14 and down, wow, it's not very nice, is it? Down 9 over 2, or 4.5. Now, that's to get from A to B. A to B is 5 parts, so therefore I need a fifth of this vector here. So I'm going to write this separately. This is my working. So a fifth of this vector is a fifth times 14 and minus 9 over 2, which is the same as 14 over 5 and minus 9 over 10. This is not a nice question with numbers, but the question itself is not too bad. Now, bit of really dodgy maths here. I can say therefore that, by the way, when I say dodgy, it's not dodgy maths, it's just the layout isn't great. I should really be using position vectors, but you don't really do those until A level, but this is fine for now. So A to C is therefore going to be 8 lots of this fifth that I've worked out here. In other words, it's 8 lots of that. So it's going to be 8 times, if I'm going to do this on my calculator, so it's going to be 8 times 14 over 5, which is going to be 22.4. So remember, this is get from A to C. And then in the y-axis, it's going to be minus 9 over 10 multiplied by 8, which is going to be minus 7.2. Let's run through what I've done quickly again. So what I've done is I worked out A to B, great. And then I've used the fact from the question that A to B is 5 parts. So one part in my sort of imaginary, using my ratio, is going to be a fifth of that, which I've then worked out to be these numbers here. And then A to C is 8 lots of that small part that I've worked out over here. So in other words, A to C is 8 lots of the thing I worked out over here. Now let's bring it all together. That's to get from A to C. So therefore C, and this is not great maths, but it's be okay for what we're trying to show here, is going to be 6, which is the x value of A, plus 22 over 4. And the y value is going to be 1 minus 7.2. And if I work that out quickly, so that is going to be 28.4. And 1 minus 7.2 is minus 6. Let's move over a bit, minus 6.2. And that is the value of my C. Now again, on the face of it, that's not the hardest thing that I've done. It's just the numbers make that seem a little bit harder. All I've done really is work out how to get from A to B. I've worked out a fifth of that, multiplied that by 8 to get the overall vector, and then just worked out the move from A to C. So I think the numbers make that look worse than it is. But as I say, 28.4 minus 6.2. Difficult question, I think, but not awful. Final question. Looks like we've got a bit of a matrix question. So it tells me A to B equals C, work out P and Q, work out A times C. Okay, so let's do this step by step. So it tells me that A to B, or A times B, so 3 minus 2, 5, 1, times by B, which is P minus 3, is equal to C, which is 27Q. Now, just a bit of matrix math. This is a 2 by 2, this is a 2 by 1, so these are the same, and the new matrix is going to be a 2 by 1, which is why this is a 2 by 1. So that's worked. That means I can bring up some equations, doesn't it? So it must therefore be the case, looking at the top row, that 3p minus minus, which is plus 6, is equal to 27. And it must also be the case that 5p minus 3 is equal to q. Now this first one here tells us that p is 27 minus 6 divided by 3. Well, that's going to be 21 over 3, which is 7. And therefore, if I use this one here, well, 5 times 7 is 35. So 35 minus 3 is equal to q, which means that q is equal to 32. So let's write the answers up here. So therefore, that means that p is equal to 7, and it means q is equal to 32. It's a fairly difficult question, that one, but again, just using a bit of matrix maths. And then it says work out A to C. So remembering that I now know what Q is, I can say that A to C is going to be 3 minus 2, 5, 1, multiplied by C, which is 27, and Q is 32. Now again, even though I've just done this, I'm going to do this again. So this is a 2 by 2, and this is a 2 by 1. These numbers are the same, so therefore I can multiply the matrix, and the new matrix is a 2 by 1, which looks something like this. So the new matrix is going to be, well, it's 3 times 27, which is 60, 70, 81, minus 2 times 32, which is going to be 64. 5 times 27, which I'm going to get my calculator to make sure I don't get that wrong. So 5 times 27 is 135, and then plus 1 lot of 32. And I bring all this together, and that means my matrix A to C is going to be 81 minus 64, which is 17, and 135 plus 32, which is going to be 167. Wow, quite a difficult set of questions today. I think even though the first one was a write down question, it was still fairly challenging to make sure you've got the right one. Really nicely worded though. Second one, not too bad. Third one, again, quite difficult, but I think the numbers made it seem more difficult than it was. And this last one, really good sort of matrix question. Check you understand your matrices. As ever, usual thing, like, subscribe, and I'll see you for tomorrow's questions. Thanks all.